Hey guys, Shane here, Aus Flight Simmer. Welcome to another episode of Test Drive. Now, if you haven't caught one of these before, this is where we take a scenery, aircraft or utility in different types of flight simulators, and I'll take it for a spin around the block and give you my first impressions. Is it a value for money? In this week's episode, we are taking the new release from Carenado, the ATR, for a spin around the block. So stick around, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done it before to see more weekly content. And if you're not familiar with this aircraft, the ATR42 is a twin-turboprop regional airliner. It's usually designed for short hauls and is developed and manufactured in France and in Italy. The number 42 in its name generally represents the seating configuration for the aircraft. So the aircraft would normally carry around about 42 passengers. The ATR has had many different variants ranging from its original 42-200 to all the way up to the 42-600. The ATR first took flight on the 16th of August 1984 and went in production on the 3rd of December 1985 and still is in service today. But with been saying that, let's go and take a closer look at Carenado's rendition of the ATR 42. On the first glance of looking at the 42, you might go, she's looking a little bit shiny, and that's because this is Carenado's first aircraft that's taken use of the full PBR texture and materials, the physics-based rendering for P3D version 4.4. As we all know that Carenado is known for great eye candy on the exterior of all their aircraft, this just adds to finishing it off. The 42 comes with a bunch of liveries, but not as many as you normally would see in a Carenado product, and of course it's all done with HD quality textures of 4K. I'm really enjoying the detail that Carenado have put into the exterior of this aircraft. It doesn't seem anything has been missed from me looking at real world pictures, so looks like everything is included. And of course the aircraft comes with the usual suspects of static elements such as pitot heat covers and chocks and whatnot. The 42 comes with a bunch of menus, but there's really only two to worry about, and that's the one where you open and close your doors and your static elements, and the other one is the configuration. If you want to cheat and pretty much do Shift FE, you can do that really easy by hitting it, but we're going to do a cold and dark startup today. So we've been saying that, it's time to jump in the cockpit and get this bird alive. Welcome to the cockpit of the 42. I'm just going to cycle through my chase plane views. You'll be able to find them on the chase plane in the community section if you've got this aircraft and you want some views. We're going to quickly go into the cold and dark startup. I'm just going to go through it pretty basic. Well, this is how I do it anyway. As we jump to the overhead and turn the battery on and connect the ground power, it's nice to see that Carenado have used some new sound mods when it comes to this aircraft. The blue interior reminds me of the D022 aircraft that they made many years ago. From here I will program the very basic FMS. I'm not going to show you that because that is quite boring, and it is very basic and missing a lot of features. If you do have the GTN 750 from Flight 1, I would highly recommend installing that and getting that to work, but I didn't do that in this case because it is a test drive. We usually just show the basic model without any add-ons or third-party equipment for the test drive. Now the FMS is configured for the flight, so we're just going to turn on all the power, all the hydro, all the fuel pumps on. We're only going to demonstrate starting up one engine just for the length of the video today. So just repeat. We're going to turn the engine start and press start on number 1. We'll quickly add the fuel. Both engines are started. We're going to turn the oxygens on and going to turn on the packs on. And we'll put the temperature in the cabin up to 20 degrees. And turn on our air conditioning and our taxi lights. And also we forgot to put our seatbelt signs on. We're pretty much all configured and ready for taxi. We are all configured and are ready for taxi. We're going to make a left turn here. Today we are at Gold Coast International Airport, YBCG. I believe it's Orbx scenery here. We're going to be making about a 250 nautical trip south down to Sydney YSSY to test out the ATR today. One thing I did notice on taxi with this aircraft, it seems to want to keep taxiing, or sorry, it wants to keep moving left or right once you take your foot off the rudder pedal. So you need to bear in mind, preempt that when you're turning. As you can see, when I make the right hand turn here, the aircraft does lean over. I was lucky enough to be here a few weeks ago at this airport, plane spotting just down the end of the runway 14. So if you get a chance in real life, you can get some really cool shots. We are going to quickly hold short here at runway 14. We're using 1-notch flaps today, 60% of fuel, a couple of notch of trim. We're going to turn the transponder on and the landing lights on, the taxi lights off, and turn on the flight director, and we are good to go. Flight director is on. We're going to pull up to runway 14. I'm going to be quiet now so you guys can listen to the takeoff, and I'll come back to you shortly just as we have put the gear up, so please enjoy. There we go, the wheels are up. It was pretty much an uneventful takeoff. As you can see, the ATR does take a while to gain some speed to take off. We weren't really running heavy on this flight, but it gives you a good chance to check out the takeoff and the landing real rolling movements and effects that Carenado have put into the aircraft. So we're going to configure and switch on the autopilot. There's pretty much not much to it. It's pretty much nav, and you need to really just use your own VS speeds and stuff. So we're going to turn the yaw dampener on there. I'm going to turn the autopilot there. We'll put the VS on to about 1200 and then switch on the nav mode there. Need to make sure that your FMS is in FMS mode, and here we go. So I'm going to leave you now with a montage as we are leaving the Gold Coast Airport, and I'll come back to you as we're just about 10,000 feet or so. Welcome back to the cockpit of the ATR42. As you can see, the interior of the aircraft looks as good as the exterior, and we should have known that to believe from Carenado, as they do great work of 3D modeling and textures. The performance on the aircraft seemed quite good. Frame rates seem pretty friendly inside and out. I guess the question that everybody has when it comes to the cockpit of any Carenado product is the systems. Has it got enough to keep you occupied, especially when you're using a regional airliner aircraft? This time around, I would have to say yes, I would put it in the same category as the Saab and the Fokker. By all means, it doesn't have all the systems modeled, but it has enough to get you going. My only gripe would be I would love to see more detail in the FMS. Other than that, it's not too bad. Now, moving into the back of the cabin, it is always nice to see a detailed cabin, and I would have to say Carenado's got this pretty right. I've actually been on this aircraft a couple of times, and the cabin looks exactly like that. There's not really much to play around here, just with your sun visors up or down, but if you want to spend some time sitting in your seat and looking at the wing or the prop turning around and the ground underneath you, it's not a bad experience in that. So we've been saying that, we're going to jump back into the cabin, we're going to continue our flight, and we're going to come back to you as we're into our approach into Sydney. Welcome back to the cockpit of the ATR. We're on final approach into YSSY Sydney. So flying the ATR, well, it's a bus basically with turboprop. So it's going to fly like a bus with turboprop. So you're pretty much not really going to do left and right turns. You're going to use the FMS to do that for you, and pretty much do autopilot off when you come into approach like this. So it flies the way that it needs to and is intended to. Worth mentioning is to keep in mind that you do have a delay with the throttles being a turboprop, and as you come to landing, you'll see it on this landing, it likes to flare and hold its flare for a while. So, but within saying that, it does everything it's supposed to do, and it is pretty fun to fly. So I'm using the Yoko Yoke, and it feels quite realistic when I'm flying it. So within saying all that, I'll come back to you as we have wheels down, so please enjoy the sounds and the landing, and I'll talk to you soon.
200. 100. 100. 10.
Wheels are down. Let's take a look at the replay and see how she looked at the exterior. So I guess you're probably wondering, what's my thoughts? Is it value for money? Being that it's a $44.95 product, it's not cheap. It's not the cheapest thing out there, but also you're not paying study level prices either. I would put the Carenado ATR 42 in the same category as the Fokker and also the Saab. So it has enough to keep you going for doing those regional flights. Remember, they're not going to be long. They're only going to be about an hour or so. And this aircraft really caters for the people that just wants to get up and fly and do a quick flight. So I'd say yes, it's value for money. The only gripe that I have is the FMS is really badly done in my opinion, and I think they could do some work in that area. But if you have the Flight 1 GTN 750, please use that. You'll find that it'll be a lot more friendlier than the FMS that comes with the aircraft. So with in saying that, if you want to check out some more reviews that I've done or first looks on aircraft, go and hit that subscribe button to stay up with weekly content and check one of the other videos out. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Shane, Aus Flight Simmer. I'll see you next week on another video. Cheers. Goodbye.